This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 184 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Equestrian Collections, Draper Therapies, and Charles Owen.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Fergus, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show with our producer, Glenn.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Hey guys. How is everyone today?
Good. I could tell you about my trip today.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, you were working really hard in the barn.
Not working really hard in the barn.
Yeah. Let me just say, but I think it's awesome.
Toronto and saw the theatrical production of Warhorse, and it was amazing.
Oh, cool.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, it was such a great show, and it's been on in Toronto for quite some time, and we just never did it, but we took the day off to do that and see it before it ends. So I highly recommend it to anybody that can see it. It's totally worth it and way better than the movie.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah, so you saw the movie and saw this and liked it way better than...
Oh, the movie doesn't even compare to just the live show, and I would say it's a little bit shorter. I think a lot of the movie kind of dragged out a little bit, but this was just it was amazing. It was perfect. So, they have the puppeteer horses that they're using, and you kind of forget that they're not real, and they make them look and act for the most part like real horses, and it's a great show and a great thing to see. So.
Did you find yourself? I was just going to ask. Did you find yourself watching the puppets and trying to criticize their movements, or did you just get absorbed and forget about it?
No, I think you can just totally just get absorbed into the show, and just it's not technical, right? I mean, they're just representing the horses, and I think they do a really great job of that, and you really get immersed in the show, and a great homage to all the horses that were in World War I and died, thousands of them. So.
Yeah, no, I've heard. My mom saw it also when she was in York and loved it. Just said it was wonderful, and she's critical, so that was really cool. So
that was good. What's coming up on the show today, Reese?
Well, we have a great show. As we have talked about on the show before, we try, when listeners send in questions, if we can't answer it between the two of us, we really work hard to find someone to come on the show. And so we had a listener question about training level freestyles, pretty much how you start, how you do them. And I called a dear friend of my family and of myself, Marlene Whitaker of Custom Freestyle. She's going to come on and talk about training level freestyles and how you start and how you pick music, and it's a great interview, and I think everyone will really enjoy it. And we also have Betsy LaBelle. She's the media coordinator for the Global Dressage Festival. We talked a little bit about GDF last week, and we wanted to promote what they're doing there, and she does a wonderful job. So it should be a really fun show.
Great. I mean, I've been looking forward to the freestyle show for quite some time. I mean, I think a lot of people have questions about it and need help with it, and especially with the new training level that's come into play, then this should be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So that is really exciting. And again, send us your listening questions, because we will really try and get them on. So Philip, Totalis is back in the news this week. It's not good news, I guess.
Well, I mean, it's just been dropped from the German championship squad. I guess that's their A team, as it were, because he hasn't shown in quite some time, and nobody knows exactly when he's going to come back to the show ring. So that's not great news for him, but I'm sure as soon as they start showing the horse again, he'll be right back there at the top of the world.
Exactly. And we look forward to it. And we are a team together, and we wish him well. And we're also, there is going to be a great program, and there's a lot of push right now for the young riders and coming up through the ranks. And it was announced this week that with London Gray and Robert Dover, they're preparing for their second annual Robert Dover Horsemanship Week, which is held January 2nd through the 6th in the Van Kampen Indoor Arena at the GDF in Wellington. So I look forward to this. This is, there were great things that came out of it last year, and I think it's wonderful that we're focused again on the youth in the United States. So it should be a good weekend.
That's many top junior young riders that get invited to this thing, and they get a big chunk of education about everything. I guess they bring guest speakers in and guest riders in to help people with their careers if they're going to go the equine way, right?
Exactly. And Dressage for Kids, and I think the website's dressageforkids.com. And if you have a youngin in your barn or you're a mom or a dad, go to that website because they're doing some great stuff. And we love to support all kinds of dressage in the United States. So I hope that helps.
Well, and another little piece of news, we're going to be looking forward to seeing Stefan Peters riding Legolas at World Dressage Masters in a new freestyle, I guess.
Yeah, so he's, it's cute. They're talking about doing something fun with a good sense of humor, which is really fun. And Stefan also works on freestyle, so I think it's a great perspective that he's working just as hard. And Marlene will talk about it later, but there are 100 hours that go into these freestyles, and I think that's for sure at Stefan's level, at the international level. There's probably more than 100 hours. So it's great to hear that he's also working very hard on his freestyles as well.
Yeah, well, after competing Revel for so many years and now with his retirement, I think he's really focusing on a new horse to bring to the world stage. So I guess the Masters is a great chance for him to be able to do that in Florida.
So, Philip, we are in our helmet series in cooperation with Charles Owen and Riders for Helmets. The Dressage Radio Network presents a special holiday series giving the gift of safety, purchasing a helmet for your loved one at Christmas.
Glenn the Geek here, founder of the Horse Radio Network. We are excited to bring you a special holiday helmet mini-series, giving the gift of safety, purchasing a helmet for your loved ones at Christmas. In cooperation with Charles Owen and Riders for Helmets, we have created this 6-part mini-series to highlight some amazing real-life stories and some tips on buying helmets as gifts. And today we speak to Roy from Charles Owen about helmet style and safety going forward and what's coming up in the years to come. Well, Roy, welcome back to our holiday helmet mini-series. Obviously we're discussing here helmets and how they make a terrific gift for the holidays and how protecting your loved one's head is perhaps the most important thing you can do in a gift for the holidays. But you and I have been to a couple of conferences together where we talked about adoption and how do we get more and more people to wear helmets, whether it be English riders or Western riders or just trail riders. How do we get more and more people to do that? And one of the things that we talked about is that they have to look stylish. People have to want to wear them as an accessory to their outfit rather than something that just conflicts with their outfit. And, I know that Charles Owen has, through the years, and a lot of the helmet companies, but especially Charles Owen, you have really made the helmets much thinner, much more stylish, less of a big bowl on the head like they were in the 1990s, and more like a fashion accessory that you're seeing Olympians wear now. Has that been a major push of yours at the company?
Yeah, I mean, we totally agree with the fact that, we want people to feel good. I mean, if you look at, the British gold medalist for the dressage, she actually was still wearing a helmet 2 hours after the event. Even for the TV interviews, because, she had it on, she'd forgotten about it. She just felt that, it saved everyone looking at her helmet hair. and so therefore helmets really have started to become an accessory to aid one's style. And that's why when you look at the catalogs nowadays, people look at it and say, oh my goodness, there's such a variety to choose from. Where on earth do you start? And that's really starting to understand a little bit. It's a bit like if you were going to buy a handbag for somebody, for a lady. You really need to understand a little bit about what they're trying to portray. And it's the same thing with the helmets. I mean, you've got the very classical sort of hunting type shapes. You've got the more modern suede looks. You've got a lot of this piping that we're now introducing where you're able to color coordinate the whole outfit through into the saddle pad, onto the jacket. It's really making it so much easier for people to accept helmets And of course, we've got a lot of riders at the top of the sport that really leading the way in trying to give us the sense that a helmet is part of our activity. It's not something that's an optional extra.
And now also, with the sort of 3D designing that you're doing, and a lot of that revolves around the air vents that you're putting into the helmets. And in the early days of having air vents in helmets, they were very noticeable and they looked like big holes in the helmet. Now you're hiding them so well, it really doesn't take away the sleek design of the helmet having the air vents in there.
Absolutely, because of course some of the standards require us to protect against things like studs in the bottom of horseshoes, so we can't just make air vents bigger and bigger to cool the head. And now we're studying how air flows through the helmet and where the most effective way of cooling the head. For example, in one of the latest helmets that we've launched at the end of this year, we're using a new thing called a free fit system. And what we do is we lay a mesh of Cormax across the forehead, which of course is where the first beads of sweat are created. And then we allow air to flow over that mesh and evaporate the sweat. And of course, by doing that, we create an air conditioning effect, because as we evaporate the sweat, it actually has a chilling effect on our forehead. And it's by doing stuff like that, we can really keep the classical look, the stylish look of the rider without compromising their comfort and their fit.
Now, I know, Roy, that the helmets are appearing to get slimmer all the time. They're appearing to have, they're not, your profile isn't as big as it used to be. Does that affect the safety at all, or are you able to design, more compact materials?
Oh, I mean, we are doing so much computer analysis now where we're able to remove, in fact, we're almost discovering that helmets that are too thick can actually provide less protection, because the structure isn't able to collapse as we thought it would do with the thick structures. So really, when you look behind the badge, that's where you really start to have to understand how the technology is really being fine-tuned. We're on a microscopic level. I mean, inside we've got this tiny little bubbles of air that you can only see under a microscope. And when you're dealing with the different geometry of the outer shape, and also the fact that the skull has different strength and forces coming into the brain from all the analysis that's being done on stresses that are created inside the brain, we actually are getting to a level where we can remove excess protection that actually offers us nothing and really build up the protection in the areas where we really do need it. It really is allowing us to make helmets that are much more efficient. And in many ways, perhaps you see it in cars. I mean, cars of yesteryear used to be huge and big, but nowadays into a small car you can pack a lot of safety.
Well, Roy, now coming down the pike, in 2013 and beyond, what are we going to see? What evolution are our helmets going to take over the next couple of years?
Well, it's an area that we are going to be seeing helmets that are going to be delivering more safety within. There's been a number of standards that have been recently reviewed, and they are looking for more protection within the same envelope that we have. So we can see that head protection is becoming much more front page with American football helmets, looking at concussions and how we can reduce those. So there's a lot of technology that's going to be coming through. And of course, we've invested hugely in computer simulation, which is allowing us to really understand a lot more. And sometimes we look back to the early days and just wondered how on earth we managed to get to design helmets that did as much protection to the head as they do. Obviously, people are always looking for more ventilation, more comfort. We can probably see that helmet shapes, we are coming across many more different shaped heads as more and more helmets are being worn. I mean, maybe in days gone by, if you didn't find a helmet that fits you, you would just say, oh, maybe helmets are not just for me. Well, of course, nowadays, if you're going to do any serious riding, then most people are looking for people to wear a helmet. So that's another challenge that's coming along to us is really understanding how we can get a helmet to adapt. And for us, introducing microfit, which is a new method of allowing the helmet to be adjusted to take that little pressure above the temple area that sometimes people have. And professional helmet fitters in your local retailer will be able to adjust the helmet to suit your head if you are suffering any discomfort.
And of course, one of the things that we want to stress here is that you just need to do it. You need to go out. If you need a new helmet and somebody's going to buy it for you for the holidays, that's terrific. If you're thinking about buying somebody a helmet for the holidays and giving that gift of safety, then that's something that we encourage you to do. And as we said in past episodes here, you can do that any number of ways. You can go back and take a listen to part 1 of this discussion to take a look at how you can give it as a gift. But the important part is that you do. It's not something that should be put off. It's something that should be done now because it's never too soon to prepare and to buy a very safe helmet. We recommend that you do it through Charles Owen. And Roy, we thank you so much for being here for this series with us. I hope that with this series we've helped, if it's 1 or 2 people that have gone out and bought a helmet and protected their heads for the next time they come unglued, then I think we've done our job here.
And I would like to make a special thank you for all the volunteers that are behind Riders for Helmets. I mean, they have really raised the game, and we are so thankful that people are starting to question the type of helmets, the fit of helmets, and really start to understand the silent injury of brain damage. I mean, the telling stories that we hear that we just didn't hear in the past. And I think it's really helped to make people very much more aware of what can happen if you don't have a well-fitted helmet on your head.
Thank you to Riders for Helmets for everything they do for helmet awareness and safety. You can visit them at riders4helmets.com. And thank you to Charles Owen. You can visit them at charlesowen.co.uk. And next week, we bring you the last part in this helmet series when we have an interview with Courtney King-Dye, the dressage rider that was the inspiration for Riders for Helmets a couple years ago when she took her nasty spill. And we chat with her about her life and what's happening next. You can listen to all the shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. Talk to you next week, everybody.
After this word from Draper Therapies, we have Betsy LaBelle, a promoter for Global Dressage Festival in Florida.
Hi, Glenn here from the Horse Radio Network, and I am back with Kat from Draper Therapies. What are we talking about this week?
Well, I thought I would bring back a year-round favorite of ours, which is the Draper Therapies socks.
My favorite. Woohoo!
Woohoo! Yeah, which is why I thought it would come up, because a lot of people end up buying the socks in the styles that we have available for gifts for the holidays. But regardless, it's a great gift to have year-round for yourself or for somebody else when you're not really sure what to get them. The socks themselves come in 2 styles. There's an active sock, which is a shorter sock that goes up just to the ankle. And then we also have a walking sock that comes in black or all white, and those go up mid-calf. So they're really great socks. They all have the Salient technology in them, which helps to increase circulation and reduce pain. And what we've called them before is kind of an energy drink for your feet, and that they really help give you a little bit more pep in the step and they take away some of the burn that you might feel, especially if you're on your feet all day, if you're training and you're on your feet, or if you're walking around maybe doing a course walk, things like that. The socks are a huge, huge help.
And I can vouch for these because you saved my butt at the WEG. My feet were killing me after walking all day, every day for like 5 days at the WEG, and I had like 14 more days to go. And you gave me a couple pairs of these socks, and they saved me. I wore them every day after that, and my feet felt great. And about 3 days after I started wearing them, they were back to normal. And I'll tell you what, I have worn them ever since then.
Yeah, they're really fabulous. I mean, I love them for myself because even when we're at shows and things like that, or if I'm on my feet all day and, you know, you wake up the next morning and you got pins and needles and it just hurts to walk when you get up. If you go to bed in these socks, it totally gets rid of that. Or if you wear them during the day, you don't get that feeling at the end of the day. So they're really, really fantastic items. And, you know, for either the $13 or the $15 you'd be spending on the socks, it's not a huge investment just to try it out and see what kind of benefits you can get from it.
And they last forever. I am still wearing the ones you gave me at the World Equestrian Games. Now, I've gotten some more since then, but I'm still wearing those particular pairs. So they do last a long time. And they work. I highly recommend them. Terrific stocking stuffers for the holidays this year.
Absolutely. And you can find all of our information at drapertherapies.com.
Betsy, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's good to be back.
I know, and you're back in a completely different role than you were this summer. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, I'm working for the Global Dressage Festival. This year it's called the Adequan Global Dressage Festival, and I am the media person, the person who writes all the press releases, creates all the videos, does a ton of different sort of things. I'm also writing the whole souvenir program, and just doing a whole bunch of things for the facility, but also for the riders. So it's really important that we promote the riders and promote the sports. And so that's what I'm up to this winter.
Well, then maybe we can get right into it, and you can tell us, what does GDF have for us this year coming up?
Well, this year is unbelievable because it's pretty much the same prize money as last year. What they do is they kind of go up the ladder. So there's 5 CDIs, and each one gets progressively more prize money for the CDIs. But we also have amazing prizes this year for the amateurs and the national show. And so we have 5 of those, 5 national shows as well. And those are like Tuesday, Wednesday events. All the national shows, and then the CDIs are on, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sundays. But what's so exciting is just the facility itself is just unbelievable. With the new indoor, the Van Campen Arena is just enormous. It could have 3 full dressage arenas in there with the horses being able to go around before. And so they just keep improving the facility. So I hope that answers your question. There's just so much.
So talk to us, Betsy, like if we wanted to come down, let's say for me, I'm going to be there for the season, so I can come on Tuesday and Wednesday to watch the national show. How does it work when it comes to CDI time?
Okay, well, the best thing to do is to go to globaldressagefestival.com and then click on it says like prize list. So for riders, they can go there and they can enter right online. But it also tells you like how to get there and just a whole bunch of stuff about the facility and the upcoming events. But the CDIs, everything is free for everybody. I mean, parking, everything. They really want the community to come. It's so important. And the CDI is so special because it has, our CDIs are going to be a little different because we're also having the Hunter Jumpers are doing shows as well. So we definitely have rules and regulations, but they have a huge field behind. And there's going to be a Hunter Derby, 1 CDI, and then so there's just so many activities going on at these. And yeah, and then each one is different. Like they're working on getting the symphony to come in March and play, and they don't know how they're going to do that yet. So they're working on that, which will bring in a community of, people who are very interested in music. And then they have just every CDI has something it's like enjoy the experience, and each one has a different experience. It's just really, really exciting.
Well, and can you give us the dates for this for the international shows then?
Sure, yes. The first one is the last day in January, and then the first couple days in February. So, and then the next one is in the middle of February, February 14th through 17th. And then the next one is exactly a month after that, March 14th through 17th. And then the 5-star is April 4th through 7th, which is huge prize money. And then the Nations Cup, which will be the Pan American Games test. They're going to decide whether they're going to change the format of the Pan American Games. And that CDI for us, the Nations Cup, is April 11th through 14th.
So, Betsy, anybody can come and anybody can enter. So what are some tips that you're going to give to everyone when they come because of the new facility?
Just won't believe the stabling. I mean, I think the stabling is the most amazing thing because it's just, there's nothing, it's just 5-star accommodations. And then the footing is amazing. I don't know about a tip. The only tip I can tell you is you got to come. It's just phenomenal. And, they really know how to do it.
Oh, I can't wait for this winter. I think it's going to be fabulous. And I hope I'm going to come to the CDIs. I'm really looking forward to it. And Philip, we got to get you down there too. And
yeah, I'm thinking first weekend of February till forever. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
until the middle of April. Yeah, but what's also great too is we have, like fine dining, and you don't have to get a table, for the whole season. You can get a table that same day, or that, or even a space. They open it up. So it's just amazing. The experience each day of watching these horses is phenomenal. You feel like you're in a 5-star, hotel or whatever, just watching these activities. And, and there's vendors there, and, it's a special thing that these guys have done. They've just created this facility for us instead of over at the Hunter Jumper where we used to be. They created this amazing facility just for us, but then the Hunter Jumpers had the grass field because it was the old polo field, and so they kept half of it and made a beautiful jumper field out of some of it. So it's just phenomenal experience. Everybody needs to come.
Well, I am looking forward to it. I can't wait for this winter. And thank you for telling us all about all the fun things that are happening this winter. And we look forward to it.
Super. Thank you so much, Reese, for having me on. And I definitely, come at Adequan Global Dressage Festival, globaldressagefestival.com. And if you have any questions, you can, on there, I believe my name is on several of the pages, Betsy LaBelle, and you can just call me and ask me anything you need, and we'll figure out how to make it happen.
After this word from Equestrian Collections, Marlene Whitaker from Custom Freestyle is going to come on and talk with us about how to design a training level freestyle.
Hi, Glenn, back with you from the Horse Radio Network. I'm here with Debbie with the Equestrian Collections Product of the Week.
Hello, Glenn, and I am so excited to introduce the Iridian Lady Stretch Denim Jeans. These are brand new this spring, and I just got a pair last week, and I'm telling you, I loved them so much, I ordered a second pair over the weekend from Equestrian Collections. They are, because they're Iridian, they're extremely stretching. They have 2% spandex, 84% cotton, and 14% polyester, and they fit great. I'm a little bit short, so they're a little long. So if you're tall, you can wear these, but if you're short, you can still tuck them into your boots, and they look fabulous. They look not only good, in fact, these are the first things I've ever worn that I felt like I had skinny jeans on. And then I thought, I can't possibly ride in these things. You get on the horse, and oh my goodness, they are not only comfortable, the people I was riding with, turned to me and said, "You look great in those jeans." I can't say enough about them. They're fabulous. Try them.
Well, anytime you get compliments like that, you're going to be happy for sure. Now, these are knee patch jeans?
Yes, they're knee patch jeans. They say they're mid-rise, but they're actually, they're mid-rise. They're low to mid-rise, so they're very, very comfortable. The knee patches are very soft. They're also same color, so you could actually get away with wearing them as jeans. They've got the four-way stretch. They come in black, and they come in denim.
You want to go to equestriancollections.com and search for Iridian. If you just put in Iridian jeans or denim jeans, these will come up.
You'll love them.
Marlene, thank you so much for coming on the show this evening.
It is my pleasure, Reese.
So we are all, I've been looking forward to your interview all day. Marlene is a wonderful choreographer and has worked with me and my family for many years. And I think she's the best. But I was so excited to have you on the show, Marlene, to talk about the new training level freestyle.
Yes, which when it became effective December 1st, a few days ago, I think 90% of our amateurs in the United States, I'm told, ride at training level, first level. So the more people that have access to this, the better. And I do have some concrete suggestions that I think will make it easier for them.
Great. Well, let's get started.
I would say the very first thing an interested rider should do is go to the USDF website. The Freestyle Committee, which I am a past member of, has put a lot of effort into giving clear directives and basic information on requirements, timing, music, choreography, scoring, and judges. There's a wealth of material there that is self-explanatory that I couldn't cover in 30 minutes. So that would be a good starting place. The next thing I recommend is that everyone have a metronome. Now, metronomes come from rather inexpensive versions to quite elaborate versions. How much you spend on the metronome is not as important as the fact that you use the same metronome throughout your entire project, because there might be some variability. So get a metronome and take a video of your horse in competition and match his walk, trot, and canter. Tap that beat into the metronome, and it will give you a number. A horse's gaits fall in a specific range. Canter can be 89 beats per minute to about 102, and that is literally how many times that inside front leg strikes the ground in a minute's time. The walk might be, say, 96 to 118, and when I measure the walk, I choose to measure both front legs because it is more accurate. The trot tends to be, if you are measuring both front legs, which is again more accurate, tends to be about 138 to 160. So your first job, if you're new to this, is to find out what tempos go with your horse. That's so important. Once you have those numbers, if your listeners have a piece of paper, I would tell them that they should go to a website called, and I'm making sure I'll say this right, Equimusic, EQUIMUSIC.com. And that is a free online musical freestyle music database. It is quite self-explanatory, and it will give you suggestions for songs at any tempo range. If you know that your horse canters at 92 beats per minute, You insert that, and up comes a list of songs that you could choose from. This will be a great help for putting appropriate songs at a person's fingertips. Now, choosing your music is not quite as easy as saying, I like this walk, this trot, and this canter. We want your choices to go together in a unified theme, to sound like they belong together. We want you to burn some of this music and take it out to the barn and ride your horse to it to see how you like it. Pick out 3 or 4 or 5 songs in each gait and ride to it. And that's a way to start. Now, am I getting too detailed here?
No, this is
it's
perfect.
awesome.
Yeah, and the
I'm
use of that
taking
website.
notes myself.
Yeah, and to have a database of music to work with. Now, I hope that there's a lot of songs on there so that we're not having 10 freestyles with the same music.
Well, the truth is there isn't as much music available as we all wish there was. However, so some of the songs in this database may have been used. But if you have a rider going to the World Cup, I have to worry that their ride is as fresh and new as I can make it. But for our riders getting started, it's all right. If they put their music together, it's all right that maybe somebody in another state is using it too. It's all right.
Yeah.
I had an interesting experience at a World Cup class in Florida one year where I had a rider who had a particular piece of music for the canter. The rider that went in immediately after her had her ride done by someone else and coincidentally had used the same canter piece of music. Jessica Ranshausen was judging. At the end of the class, my rider was quite upset to have heard her canter music done by 2 horses. So I approached Jessica and asked her what she thought about that. And she hadn't noticed it, not because she isn't an experienced judge. Believe me, she is, and she's done freestyles and she knows. But her premise is that every cur is choreographed differently with different surrounding pieces, and 2 riders can use the same music back to back and have it be 2 totally different pieces of music. So I share that story with my riders when they get a little uptight about what if someone else is using this music. No one else has your horse. No one else has your choreography. No one else will edit it exactly the same way. So have confidence and just try to create the program that represents you. Now, finding the tempo, which I talked about, is step 1. But just because you have picked a song in a tempo range doesn't mean it will work, because the other part of choice is the style. It is possible to have a song that is tempoed at walk sound like trot. It is possible to have a piece of music that is tempoed for trot sound like walk. That's just the rhythmic groove. That's the variation we find. So when you get to your resource and are able to find songs in a range that you know might work for you, be cognizant that it has to sound like the gait you want it to represent.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So after that, you've got your music picked out, you've ridden to it. Where does the choreography come in?
Well, fortunately, at training level, you have one big advantage, and that is you don't have so many required elements. You are required to do 20 meters of continuous free walk, 20 meters of continuous medium walk. You are required to do both left and right, a trot, 15 to 20 meter circle, no smaller. You are required to do the same at canter, 15 to 20 meter circle left and right, no smaller. In the trot, you do a serpentine with no loop smaller than 15 meters. That would be a 4-loop serpentine at the smallest. A trot, 20-meter stretching circle. Then your transitions are scored, and you can do trot, halt, trot, trot, walk, trot, trot, canter, trot. You may not do walk, canter, walk. When you read the requirements in the USDF manual, they will be very clear about what you can and cannot do. And when you choreograph your ride, be very true to what is allowed, because if you put in something that's above the level, you will be faulted for that. Because you have not so many movements to show at training level, you have plenty of time in the 5-minute limit that you're given to listen to the music, listen to the phrases, and begin to imagine, well, that sounds like a circle. At training level, it's quite doable to listen to your music and just try to ride to it. You might, and that takes some experimentation. I do find that when riders are doing this at home, the stopping and starting with a horse can be frustrating for the horse. So you might want to spend some time at your kitchen table listening to the music and trying to draw things. I can give you some rough estimates. A horse doing a 20-meter circle might trot at about 48 steps. That's 48 beats. If you trot the diagonal, that might be 16. I mean, if you canter the diagonal, it might be 16 strides. If you trot the full diagonal, it might be 32 strides. There are, if people would like to call me for some specific numbers on their choreography, I can be reached at 828-606-5907. I'm more than happy to coach people and give them some little guidance. But if you sit at your kitchen table, kind of draw out a plan as you're listening to your music that you'd like to try, that saves your horse a lot. You want to, when the music swells, you want to do something meaningful. The interpretation of the music is a very personal thing. But I will tell you that before riders get too bent out of shape about or stress too much about their music and their choreography, it is probably most important to know that freestyles are won and lost based on the technical ride. If you have met the requirements and you ride a clean and accurate test, the best technical ride will nearly always win the freestyle. So sometimes I'd encourage riders to spend your money on lessons. Spend your money on the most able horse you're able to have and get the best help you can from a professional. Because in truth, especially at training level, the best moving horse with the cleanest technical ride will win the cur. And that should give a lot of encouragement to our riders and encourage them to put their efforts where it will most pay off and let the music and the choreography be a little bit of fun at training level.
So, Marlene, I think that's a great statement, and that is have fun with the music. I think you always say that with your riders, and you said it to me, is relax and have fun and feel the music a little bit. I think that's when you become kind of the most proficient at it. So I just wanted, because I don't have the experience of not cutting the music. So you said just enjoy the music and ride to the music. Can you go through that a little bit more?
Well, in a 5-minute ride, you're going to have really more time than you need. There is no minimum time in training level, so you want to present the required movements to the judge, but not stay out there the full 5 minutes just to be staying out there. So first of all, let's say your ride really may come in at 3.5 minutes. So when you think of it that way, you're going to have probably 45 seconds of walk. You'll probably have 1.5 minutes of trot and 1 minute of canter. That's all. So you're not going to be able to use an entire song. You are going to need to pick and choose from within a song the parts you want to use. You may choose to go to a sound studio and let someone do a little bit of professional editing. If you know where you want it, you'll get cleaner edits. It's very hard. It's very hard for me to tell you without listening to the music exactly what to use. but a training level rider is doing circles and serpentines. Those are very flowing movements. It's nice, when we sing in phrases, and then we take a breath. It's nice in the serpentine and the circle if it's a phrase, so that when you start the circle, a new phrase of music is beginning. And then before you get ready for your next movement, you try to do it with another phrase of music. There are no lengthenings or extensions at training level, so the crescendos and the swells that one might use for lengthening, one might instead choose to use for serpentines or for your circles. So there is great freedom here and flexibility, a great allowance given to how a person would use the music, Reese, because the movements are so forgiving. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. No, I think that's very helpful. And that's always kind of where you are. And I've worked with some, the Pony Club kids who were working on this before it became a rule for USDF. And that was always the issue. Like, how do you use the music that you picked?
Yes. And I think this is a time-consuming process, and homework done at home, listening to your music and trying to pick out sections that you like. So this might be a circle. This might be, it's a lot of trial and error, but, when we tell people that 100 hours is a reasonable amount of time for me to put into a ride, you begin to understand where some of the time goes, because, but this is also the learning curve for the rider. This can be quite fun. And Reese, you had a question, one of the program questions, and this might relate, was about riding to the music and riders who might have horses that are quite different at home than they are in the showground. And what should a rider do? Well, I would say, first of all, if you can take these songs that you found from the database and ride to them at home, it's a wonderful training activity. And it helps you and your horse get a very steady tempo. That becomes a training activity even if you never show. It also allows the horses to get used to music. Some horses will adapt and ultimately be just fine and not change so much from home to the show ring. If you have a gelding, the chances are very good that he will be a little more lazy at home. He might be a little more up in the show ring, but it won't change your music. You will, in fact, find that he performs to your music even better being a little up. There's one other reality, though. If you have some of our mares that can be a little tense, sometimes are much more tense in the horse show. If that phenomena with a training level rider's horse, if their reality is that their horse is very different in the horse show than it is at home, creating a freestyle for that horse will be the most difficult challenge. I have that challenge even at Grand Prix for some of my mares that get tense in the show ring. So if that is the case, and if your riders want to pursue it, they need to adhere to the show ring tempos and work with that faster music even while they're at home. It's much more difficult, but I think that is the reality for some of our horses.
Yeah, well, a lot of them can change when they go to the shows, and I think, you just have to keep riding it, right? I mean, show quite a bit to get used to that and try to adapt. I mean, probably the first time that you take your freestyle out, it might not be perfect, right? And then can you come home and change it and adapt it, maybe? Or do you
Absolutely.
just say, this is my freestyle and I'm going to keep riding it?
No, I would hope that it would be an evolving effort. It is for me.
Me too. That's why I love Marlene and I know her so well.
It evolves. The good freestyle does evolve. And each time you show it, you and your horse learn a little more about each other and about your music. And again, for our listeners, this is part of the learning curve. One of the things that excites me most about this training level is not only that people will get to enjoy it, but that they will be a part of a movement that the Freestyle Committee has worked on for a number of years to promote education of this. And people are afraid to begin if they have a fourth level horse when it gets a little more difficult, the editing, everything gets a little more difficult, the time is tighter. That's daunting to begin there. Riders should begin their learning process with the freestyle at training level. And if they are working it out themselves, the learning will be huge. There is a book I recommend, published, I think, in the 70s, called Dancing with Your Horse. There has been an updated edition in the last 5 years, I believe. I have read many, many things, that almost everything I can find that comes out on freestyle, but I believe that Dancing with Your Horse is a wonderful primer that will answer many questions, that will give you basic choreographic patterns you might try. It's a wonderful listing. Here's one other resource for our listeners. There is something on the internet called the BPM list. That is beats per minute list. In 2011, the 7th edition was published. It is a music reference guide for mobile DJs. It has over 24,000 charted songs listed by beats per minute and by style, by genre, which, we would like our rides to all be of the same genre, something that sounds like it belongs together. While this is another good resource, these compilations have to be purchased, and I think they are about $30 a book if you would get one that was only Latin songs. I think each book, I think there is a fee to it. But again, it's another resource. But Dancing with Your Horse is a minimal investment. Equimusic.com is free, and the USDF information is invaluable, and I would not want riders to be afraid to just dive in. It's doable.
That's great. I think that's really fun. Now, I have one last question that deals with freestyles, and that's what happens if you're riding your freestyle at a show, you get in the middle, and you're in the wrong place. I mean, because the judge is not going to know, right? I mean, for those riding the technical test, you get that little bell, you get your -2, and you carry on. What's going to happen in a freestyle?
Yes, well, the fact that the music marches on is the challenging part, and it is why we encourage our freestyle riders to be proficient at the level. A 60% at training 4 is a minimum requirement in order to enter the freestyle, and you have to submit a copy of your 60% test. Now, that's a generous score. In truth, the better you are able to ride that training level test, the more you can depend on your training and depend on your horse to be there right when you need him, the more accurately you'll be able to ride your freestyle, because the minute the music starts, you are riding the music and not the arena letters. That's the new skill riders have to learn, and that's the reason we want them to be proficient with the technical so they can concentrate on something else. Because the moment will come, just as you say, when you are not in the arena where you intended to be. So the additional skill that the freestyle rider learns is how to think fast and what options does she have. We like to have anchor points in a ride. For example, if you start with trot, and let's say then you're going to walk, and when you get to walk, you're not where you want it to be. Oh my. Well, an anchor point in that ride is, I know where I'm supposed to start the canter, and that's where I have to get to. So on the fly, I have to change my walk pattern so I get to my anchor point for the start of my canter. If you know where you are supposed to be at the beginning of major gates, you try to make adjustments to get there. And again, every time you ride the current, something goes wrong, you will figure out what you might have done differently to make it work better. And I believe it takes riders about 5 schools or 5 competitions to get these kinks worked out so they can be in charge of being where they want to be. The best performances that are best scored by the judges and the audience are when all these things come together. So it's a fun project, and it's a challenge.
It is. It is a very fun project. I have done several in my career, and Marlene has been part of all of them. And it is, and it's such a challenge. And you will find every time you ride it, something will happen. Or my very experienced horse spooked once, and it wasn't his fault. He got scared from the music, and we had to get to our anchor points. So I think you learn when you work with someone that's ridden several freestyles, they'll help you with that and get you to and teach you. So, but it is a wonderful process. And Marlene, I could listen to you forever. You do such an amazing job, and you are absolutely phenomenal to work with. So thank you for coming on the show. If you don't mind, can you give your contact information or how we can find you on the web again?
I do not. I have, Reese, almost more work than I can handle, so I do not keep a website. But I can be reached by my email, marlenewhitaker@mac.com. I always respond to people and try to help them. I will give you my telephone number, which is 828-606-5907. And frequently I have riders who are trying to do this on their own that call me, and I coach them. And I would be happy to advise people on some of the specific issues that they may run into along the way, because this is all about education. And the more people that do this, the better. I'm going to retire one day, and I hope there's another crew coming up.
I hope you don't retire until I retire. So, Marlene, thanks so much for coming on the show, and we look forward to having you back another time.
It was my pleasure, and happy holidays.
All right. Well, Philip, those were great interviews.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the freestyle one. I knew that I would, and it didn't let me down at all. She was a great resource to be able to bring on to the show. So if people have other questions relating to freestyles, maybe we can have her back.
Oh, I'm sure she'd love to come back on. And it really is a fun thing to do. I've enjoyed freestyles, and I've had, some good luck with them. They take a lot of work. I think that's the one thing that people maybe underestimate. I had a very cute pony clubber. She was getting ready for her rally, and she came to me a week and a half before rally and said, I haven't even started my freestyle.
Oh, my goodness.
And I just thought, oh my gosh, it takes us 6 months. So I will caution everyone that, give yourself some time to enjoy the process. Thank goodness this was a youngin' that she could dedicate her life pretty much 24/7 for that last weekend to her
for the entire week, right?
Yeah, for the entire week. That's all she did. But so don't do that to yourself, because that doesn't go well. But give yourself some time and do enjoy it. And it is a fun process, and riding to music really is fun. I actually, Philip, in my ring, I just put up a sound system, and it was a little early Christmas present to myself. And it's really nice, actually, to ride to music. I'd never really done it before, and other than the freestyle, but to actually, have the radio on or put something in that I want to hear. It's pretty fun. So I would encourage everyone to do that, because you will find yourself, if you like the song, you kind of get into it, and your horse gets into it, and it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, and even if you don't have a sound system at the barn or whatever, I mean, you can use the headphones and the iPods. We've done that before, and that's a good way to do it as well. So just fun, different tips for riding, especially for us coming into the winter, different things to do, and again, relating back to last week, if you have problems, you're working on tests and it's boring and it's frustrating, maybe put together a freestyle or do something a little bit with that. So. Yeah, it's great interviews, great week. I hope everybody has a good week coming up.
Absolutely. And you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website at dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook. Just search for Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me at philipparksequestrian.com, and my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Equestrian Collections, Draper Therapies, and Charles Owen. And don't forget to check out all the other great shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
And don't forget Horse Radio Network gear. Everyone go to the website and you can find some awesome things. So go to the website. We would love that. And you'll get your Horse Radio Network items. So everyone, keep your heels down and your shoulders back. And we will talk to you next week.